Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day. And I hope everyone's had a great week out there as it comes to an end and we're about to head off into our weekend. And certainly, happy Valentine's Day to everyone. We got a lot to discuss in this morning's video. The first thing we will cover is kind of what's going on right now, because that will lead us into our powerful storm system for this weekend. In fact, I would say the beginning stages of it is starting right now. There's going to be a winter weather side to this, and there's going to be a flooding threat to this, and there's going to be a severe weather side to this for the south. And we're going to cover everything. We're going to really zoom into those individual graphics as far as how much snow and ice the National Weather Service is forecasting for the winter weather side of this system, and then we'll speak on the severe weather side, and we'll talk about it all in detail, just like we always do in these videos. After we get done covering that, we will shift gears and get into next week, as we will have another strong storm system, and I think this will be more so winter weather for a lot of areas, and the footprint of winter weather, if you will, is most likely going to be much further south compared to what we've seen over the last couple weeks. And this system could start in the central U.S. and end up ending somewhere in like the Northeast as a powerful winter storm. But there's still a lot of details to work out, but we're going to continue to get more and more detailed on it as we get a little bit closer. And of course, as we move past this weekend storm, we'll be able to hyper focus on next week's system as we get closer. So a lot to cover in this video. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put in the comments below. And just a quick reminder, there's timestamps throughout the video for you to just jump ahead to whatever you want to listen to. Some people don't care about this weekend storm maybe because it's not impacting you guys. Some people just want to hear about the winter weather threat for next week. So certainly just utilize those timestamps. Both of these systems are important, and I would argue the one this weekend, which is closest to us, is even more important than the one next week, especially with this flooding threat that I think could end up being a really big deal. So let's get rocking and rolling. So these are all the watches and warnings. We got a lot of winter weather alerts out west, winter storm warnings in the pink, winter weather advisories in this kind of dull shade of purple, and then we got like ice storm warnings here in the valley between the coastal range and the Cascades here in Oregon. Sorry to leave you guys hanging out west. It is very hard to cover the west with these types of systems, just because there's so many microclimates, right? Everything's elevation driven, and that's a big reason why I don't always hyper focus on the west. And I know I got some loyal viewers out there, and I do apologize, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. I feel like I can't get as detailed out there, and that's why I don't cover it quite as much. But the middle of the country's quiet right now, but a system will get going, and this will overspread heavy snowfall across the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region, and will bring heavy snow, kind of a heavy front end thumping of snow across the Northeast. We got winter weather advisories for this snow across the upper Midwest. I'm very surprised there's no winter storm warnings because in some areas they're going for, over 8 to 10 inches of snow. And I understand your criteria for a winter storm warning is much higher up here, but I'm still a little shocked, especially closer to Milwaukee. We'll see if we get any upgrades from advisories to warnings later on today. No winter weather advisories to Detroit. That could change. And we got winter weather advisories up through PA, northern New Jersey, through southern New England. And we got winter storm watches up for areas of southern New England and the interior sections of New England, the Northeast, where this could be. You could upgrade to winter storm warnings. Could just upgrade to winter weather advisories. Just a reminder that an upgrade from a watch to an advisory is still an upgrade. Some people don't think that, but it technically is. But we do have these lake effect snow warnings too, kind of combining with the winter weather advisories in some of these areas. But this will be a warmer system for you folks in the mid-Atlantic. So, there could be some light ice accumulations for certain areas, but I wouldn't expect near as much as what you saw earlier this week. And then this shade of green right here, these are flood watches spanning from Arkansas all the way to Pittsburgh. And kind of the individual light greens, those are flood warnings just due to rivers, just high water levels with these rivers and bordering areas. So that's what kind of prompts those flood warnings and different things there. But listen, this flood watch, a lot of people are so focused on the winter weather and the severe weather, but this area right here, this corridor, it could get really bad over the next 48 hours, and we're going to speak on this In fact, the National Weather Service out of Charleston, West Virginia, not South Carolina, is mentioned the possibility of historic and extreme rainfall. So definitely, we just got to figure it out. Hopefully, it's not as bad as what it could be. But this is the radar right now. Nothing super heavy. We just got rounds of snow out west. And you see this area right here. This is kind of the beginning stages of our winter weather event and our system that'll get cranked up across the upper Midwest. And we do have some lake-to-lake connection with these lake effect snow bands going from Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, all the way to Lake Erie, even a little bit. Lake Ontario, even a little bit into Lake Erie, but this is a pretty gnarly band coming off Lake Ontario right now. So yeah, the Southeast pretty quiet, and that's what's going on right now. So let's start to dive deep into this system. We're just going to really focus on the eastern half of the country. The middle of the country, this first system, it's not going to be that big of a deal at all. It really gets going as it gets into the eastern half of the country. So we'll start off this evening. We're just going to look at the Euro, and we can go on and flip it to the 060 Euro since we are in range now. All right, so this is this evening. We got some light to moderate snow falling across the upper Midwest. We go on and take it into the middle of the night tonight. This is like midnight, 1 a.m. Some heavier snow begins to move into Milwaukee, Chicago potentially, northern Indiana. You see that kind of splotchy area of darker blue. And this will just be light to moderate snow, but this is pretty cold up here, so this will accumulate on everything. We take it into Saturday morning. We start to get more moisture blossoming to the south along the Mississippi Valley all the way into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. So at this point, Saturday morning, waking up to widespread snow as far south as northern Indiana, northern Ohio, down to Chicago, and more heavier stuff probably up here in the Great Lakes region. Okay, that's a lot of heavy rain already getting going. And then we take it to about midday Saturday. It's about lunchtime, 1 p.m., give or take an hour depending on your time zone. Snow still falling up here in the Great Lakes region. We still got some snow probably flying around here near Chicago to Milwaukee, Green Bay. Some snow back here in Iowa. Heavier snow begins to move into northwest PA and the southern tier of New York and pretty much north to northeast. But look at this heavy rain. Down here in Kentucky, Tennessee, down the Mississippi Delta area, heavy rain begins to right into the Appalachian Mountains, and then we take it to about Saturday evening, tomorrow evening. Low pressure begins to develop right here, and we'll be able to zoom into the Deep South here in a second. We'll show you the HRRR model, what's it showing as far as the structure of these severe storms expected Saturday into Saturday night across the Deep South. But this is just, a wide range of the Euro of this storm system and how large it is. But you see this kind of steady stream of heavy rain moving across Arkansas, western Tennessee, Kentucky. Heavy rain surging into West Virginia, but you notice the green is mostly rain. As you get into the Northeast, this is more of a winter storm. You're getting the ice in PA, you're getting the snow, which is in the blue here. This is heavy snow, a good front-end thumping of snow into New York City, but especially southern New England, the interior sections of the Northeast, like Binghamton, Scranton. This is some heavy, wet snow. Snowing pretty good in southern Ontario, that freezing rain right here. And this is in the Saturday evening. And we go on and take it into Saturday night. It's like the middle of the night. This is, like midnight, 1 a.m., give or take an hour. 996 millibar low, cutting across areas of Kentucky, the Ohio Valley. This is bringing a lot of heavy rain, strong winds with it. Another low pops down here as this trough drops down. And this is when it gets interesting. You got a couple things going on here. Really a few things. You got the winter weather side of things going on in the Northeast. Enough cold air kind of entrained into the area for this to be winter weather initially. And then you got the low right here. And then we got the heavy rain surging through the Ohio Valley. We got kind of a dry slot down here. And then with cold air kind of dropping down, this moisture is starting to hit this cold air coming down with this trough and this cold front. Low right here. And as we're moving into Sunday morning, okay, some backside heavier moisture begins to tap into that cold air. So we start to get some snow down here in southern Illinois, maybe some snow in Indianapolis, northwest Ohio, snow into Detroit. So you think the system's done, but because of these low pressures developing off this trough, this kind of throws back moisture to the west. And this just continues to be a ton of rain, probably a line of severe thunderstorms down here in the Deep South that you're waking up to Sunday morning somewhere. Surge of rain continues through the Apps. Especially west of the Appalachian Mountains. We still continue to get this snow changing the freezing rain in southern New England, snow north of that area. Any kind of winter weather in New York City switches probably to rain. And with a low cutting through PA, we are definitely going to switch to rain. But whoever stays kind of snow on the northern side of this could get another huge winter storm up in Ontario, Quebec. You see this axis of snow Sunday. This could be very, very heavy snow, maybe blizzard conditions because of the strengthening low to your south. So this is Sunday morning. Rain maybe switches to snow in Cleveland. And this is still, the jury's still out on this. But rain switching to heavy snow into Cleveland Sunday, I mean, we start talking about this today, right? We're all the way into Sunday now. And then it gets interesting around southern New England. So cold air tries to catch up, and maybe some rain switches back to winter weather. And we get into Sunday evening, guys. And at this point, cold air's trying to dominate the system at this point. And 979 millibar low off the coast of Maine Sunday night. This is bringing a lot of winds, an ice storm. If this verifies along the coastal areas of Maine, icing, a long period of ice down into southern New England, heavy, heavy snow in the northern Maine, northern New Hampshire, Vermont, and the Adirondacks of New York. And then we got the backside snow flowing through, northwest flow all the way down to the mountains of North Carolina, Tennessee, West Virginia, and then we're done. So it's a lot. It's a lot going on. And just to talk about the snowy side, we'll work west to east. It's Minneapolis, areas of Wisconsin, Minnesota, 2 to 4 inches of snow. Rochester, they've bumped it up to 4 to 8. Eau Claire, 3 to 5. So it's the further east you get, the more snow. Not a whole lot once you're into western areas of Minnesota. Not expecting really any ice with this. And listen, Iowa's a tricky state because the initial blast of snow kind of today into tomorrow morning is not going to be a lot. But we could get the backside low that develops, throws back moisture into this area. Gives you guys more snow later into the weekend. Des Moines, 1 to 6 inches of snow. Very wide range. Waterloo, 4 to 7. Dubuque, 3 to 7. Davenport, 2 to 5. So this is Iowa. See if we got any ice forecasted. Yeah, definitely some ice is possible in southern Iowa. 1/10 of an inch of ice once you get south of Des Moines is very possible. So we'll certainly watch out for a little bit of freezing rain with this. It's interesting. So was not expecting that much ice being forecasted for this area. But we start to look at Wisconsin. This is kind of the state where I'm surprised there's no winter storm warnings up. La Crosse, 4 to 8. I understand if that doesn't prompt winter storm warnings, but Milwaukee going for 6 to 11 inches of snow and just only a winter weather advisory. Green Bay, 4 to 7. Madison, 5 to 8. Janesville, 4 to 8. Platteville, 4 to 7. Northern Wisconsin, good for about 2 to as much as 6 inches of snow. And I don't think there's much no real ice expected up here. We'll show some love to my friends here in the UP of Michigan. This is just between now and Saturday, 7 p.m. So we could get more snow after this. It looks like they're just hyper-focusing on kind of over the next 36 hours. So I don't think the system is potentially done after this. But Marquette, 2 to 4. I would say actually in the southern areas of the UP, you could approach maybe that 5 to 6 inch mark. So more snow on top of more snow up here. And then getting close to Chicago, they bumped it up to 2 to 3 inches of snow. Now this is just between now and 12 p.m. Saturday. So just keep that in mind. And, it tears my nerves up that, let's see if we can do something here. Watches and warnings. That they do not extend this further out. Was it ILX? Come on. Okay, so this extends it. Oh, it's so scrawny. This extends it out to 6 a.m. Sunday. So, and the reason I'm showing you this is because snow can continue to fall after that time frame that the National Weather Service out of Chicago is only giving us 4 to 7 inches of snow in Chicago between now and 6 a.m. local time Sunday. Rockford, 4 to 8. So, this could be a decent event for you guys in northern Illinois. And certainly could get a little bit of ice also, especially closer to Bloomington, Peoria. Over 1/10 of an inch of ice in that orange-colored area between now and 6 a.m. Sunday. So there's going to be a corridor of ice through here. Champaign, 1/10 of an inch, a little bit of freezing rain in these areas. And then we head on up to lower Michigan. And Detroit, and this is just between now and 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Saturday. Remember we just showed you the Euro and how it ramps up more snow? So, and I think they're doing this for a reason. And, I'll give some love to Chicago there. I think they're doing this because of the uncertainty of if that low kind of throws back moisture over this area. which would be snow because more cold air funnels in. But Kalamazoo 4 to 6, Detroit 3 to 4, just between now and 7 p.m. Saturday. Grayling 4 to 6, Grand Rapids 4 to 6. Let's see if it extends it out even further. It doesn't, and I think it's smart just to keep it at this range anyway. So. Northern Indiana, this is just between now and Saturday at 7 p.m. Just good for 1 to 3 inches of snow across northern Indiana. Fort Wayne, maybe as much as of an inch, but you could just get a trace. But you could get more snow out of this, guys. And it looks like they only extended out to 7 p.m. Saturday. And I think the more I think about it, the more how I think that's smart. You don't want to extend this too far out because, like I said, we're just not quite sure if that back end moisture is going to get going. And some ice certainly could add up south of this area, but just going for a few 100ths of an inch of ice. Detroit, now this does show more. Like this goes through 7 p.m. Sunday. So they're going for 7 inches in Detroit, Ann Arbor 7 inches. So some of these graphics are just different. That's why I keep reiterating what this goes through. I think that's important. Toledo 5 inches, Cleveland 3, Chardon 4 inches of snow. And northern Ohio will certainly get some accumulating snow out of this. And then the ice forecast, few 100ths of an inch of ice in these areas, and maybe a little bit more ice kind of in central Ohio. And I'll zoom into some of those areas as we get closer. I think as we just know a little bit more about this system. PA, between now and 7 p.m. Sunday, 4 inches of snow in Erie. I think more than that could fall. And northern PA will certainly be the spot to watch for just a few inches of snow. Scranton 3, Pittsburgh an inch or less, but it'll be right at the beginning of the system. We're certainly going to get some ice potential in these areas. They've actually increased the ice for certain areas. Between now and 7 a.m. Sunday, certainly the higher elevations could get over a 1/4 of an inch of ice. State College about a 1/10. Scranton a couple 100ths of an inch. Hazelton a 1/10 of an inch. Wellsboro a 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of ice. So freezing rain's going to fall in this area, unfortunately. But the good news is it will warm up and switch to rain, I think, for a lot of these areas. Not going to go much further south than that. I don't think it'll be a big event. But Philadelphia, a good inch of snow could fall. Trenton, 1.5 inches. The further north you get, it increases pretty quick. Get up the Interstate 80 corridor, a few inches of snow could fall. Allentown, 3 inches of snow. Reading, 2 inches. Mount Pocono, 4 inches of snow. Not much along the Jersey Shore, I would expect. But look at the ice. Mount Pocono going for almost 4/10 of an inch of ice just between now and 1 p.m. Sunday. That is a lot of ice. We might end up getting some ice storm warnings issued in some of these areas. And then showing the New York City area between now and 7 a.m. Sunday. Going for 2.5 inches of snow in New York City. JFK about 1 inch. And just Long Island, good for about 1/2 inch to 2 inches of snow. But you get north, Bridgeport 4, New Haven 3 to 4, Waterbury about 5 inches of snow is forecast between now and 7 a.m. Sunday. Cold Spring 4, but ice could be an issue in this area, north of New York City. Middletown, about 2/10 of an inch of ice. Danbury 1/10, Waterbury over a 2/10 of an inch. So a few inches of snow with a few 1/10 of an inch of ice. Yeah, that's going to cause some issues. And then just to zoom into individual areas of New York State. Buffalo, this is just between now and 7 p.m. Sunday. There could be some stuff still going on after that range, but going for around 5 inches of snow in Buffalo. Rochester 6, Fulton 17 inches of snow. Syracuse, over a foot. Watertown 8 inches of snow. Old Forge 9. Birmingham 4. Ithaca 3. And then going on up here into the Adirondacks. This shows almost the entire duration of the event. This is between now and 7 a.m. Monday. This is going to be a big winter storm for the Adirondacks points north. In fact, I'm not going to even try to. I'm going to try. Ogdensburg, going for 25 inches of snow. And a lot of this will be wet snow, guys. In a lot of these cases, it's not going to be a super dry, powdery snow. Maybe at certain portions of the storm, but this is even a big storm for lower elevated regions. Stowe, 13 inches of snow. Brattleboro, 8 to 9. Bennington, 6 to 7. Manchester, closer to 9. Big winter storm in these areas. And there's going to be ice too. For example, like southern Vermont, over a 1/2 foot of snow with a 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of freezing rain. It's not good. Even some glazing of rain. I'm sorry, glazing of freezing rain up here in the Adirondacks. And I kind of forgot to show ice for this graphic too, but they are going for some hefty ice totals in some of these areas too. Kind of a glitchy map, but Wellsville, 0.3 of an inch of ice in New York. Not much around Buffalo, but they're definitely going for some ice totals in these regions. And just at New York as a whole, and this is just between now and 7 p.m. Sunday, they're going for 11 inches of snow in Syracuse. This will be a pretty big storm for New York State and into Vermont. Southern New England, they have bumped it up to 4 to 6 inches of snow in Boston. This will be the front end thumping of snow that we've been talking about. The Berkshires, over a half a foot of snow is possible. Providence, 3 to 4. Even out on the Cape, a few inches of snow is possible. Worcester, 4 to 6. Fitchburg, 4 to 6. So a pretty decent front end thumping of snow in these areas. And you're going to get ice too. You know, Berkshire is over a half a foot of snow with 1/10 to 1/4 inch of freezing rain. So the western areas of southern New England are going to get over 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain, it looks like, mixed with several inches of snow. We head on up the road to New Hampshire, shows more of Vermont too. Manchester, 7 between now and 7 p.m. Sunday. Portsmouth, 7 inches of snow. North Conway, 8. Littleton, 5. And we show sections of Maine. Rumford, 6 inches of snow. Portland, 6. It could still be snowing after this too. Augusta, 5. Probably going to get ice in this also. Look at that. Manchester, over 1/10 of an inch of ice. Portland, over 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain. A nasty ice situation could develop in the coastal areas of Maine. I want to watch this. We could uptrend Rockland, almost 2/10 of an inch of freezing rain. And then we head on up to the rest of Maine. This is between now and 7 p.m. Sunday. Several inches of snow possible. Bangor, 4 to 7. Caribou, 1 to 6. And listen, I am worried about ice up here in some of these regions. Look at the ice forecast. Might be a little hard to see. Bar Harbor, just between now and 7 a.m. Monday. I mean, I think this could increase. Bar Harbor going for 3/10 of an inch of freezing rain. As warm air gets involved with this low pressure getting close, you could begin to deal with some freezing rain. So I am worried closer to the coast for a lot of freezing rain in these areas. So that's the update on the winter weather side of this. Now, speaking of the severe weather side, right now we just have an enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5 in this orange area. Memphis is included in this, over to Tuscaloosa, Tupelo, Jackson, Meridian, down to Shreveport. Doesn't quite make it to Baton Rouge. The slight risk includes level 2 out of 5, the yellow, Nashville. I mean, over the Little Rock, pretty much. Eastern areas of Texas, down to New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Pensacola, Mobile, Birmingham. So what is causing this? Tornado risk in that yellow area, which includes Vicksburg, Jackson pretty much, basically southeast Arkansas, western Mississippi, and then northeast Louisiana. There is a 10% risk of a tornado in that yellow area within 25 miles in any given location. There's also a 10% risk, because you see these black dashes going in between it, it's black outline, that means there's a hatch risk, which means in this case there's a 10% risk of a strong tornado too, EF2 or higher. And then this brown area, that is where you have a 5% risk of a tornado, and the green area is a 2% risk. The wind threat's going to be something serious, guys. I mean, this is what we call a wind bag in the weather community. It means that the severe weather threat could be driven off mainly high winds. And I'm very surprised there's not a hatch risk of winds, but in this red area, which is the entire enhanced area, you have a 30% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour within 25 miles in a given location. And then the hail threat, there's a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. So hail could be a factor in this. So just kind of taking a closer look at this, and we'll include the highlighted areas. It is kind of chopping off a little bit of Texas, and I'll show you guys more of Texas here in a second. But in fact, let's just go on and start in Texas, because I'll forget. I don't want to leave you guys hanging. It's messed up. But Saturday morning, not a whole lot going on in eastern Texas, but you'll notice some storms try to fire up at the last second, kind of around 3, 4, 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon, evening. So these storms right here in eastern Texas could pack a punch, but it does look like the worst will be just to your east. Now, let's go on and switch to the deep south, and let's back it up a little bit. This is right now, so let's go on all the way into Saturday morning. So we already got storms flying up the Mississippi Delta, up the Mississippi River area. A lot of heavy rain already getting going here in Tennessee. A lot of storm activity in Arkansas already. And the low-level jet's already ramping up. So these could already be producing some damaging winds. And then we start to get into about 3, 4, 5 o'clock. And these storms are working its way through eastern Arkansas, and a line forms. But you notice there's not really any supercells out ahead of this line on the HRRR model. So it's around 5 p.m. Central Time. But you got this pretty intense line of storms sweeping through Memphis, western Tennessee, all the way up to Kentucky. I don't think they'll be packing as much of a punch up in Kentucky, but still some strong winds. But they're moving across the Delta area, northern Louisiana. These will be producing damaging winds, some large hail potential, and tornadoes embedded in this line of storms. But if you notice, it's more so a line of storms. But you see these storms kind of out ahead. You see this kind of first line of storms in Louisiana. These could produce tornadoes. These will be working with a much more favorable, I would say, thermodynamic atmosphere. But the line of storms is riding with a pretty intense low-level jet, which just means it's going to be working with a lot of wind energy. So these storms will be producing some damaging winds. And as we're starting to get to 9, 10, 11, midnight tomorrow night, these storms are blasting through Tuscaloosa, Hattiesburg, Birmingham. They're making their way through the Cumberland Plateau, and this is as far out as we can go, and they're heading right towards Atlanta. And these storms will be producing, and this is just winds between now. Let's look at the wind gust swath, and we'll have to switch it back to this. And this is in knots. I was like, man, that looks kind of weird. Look at the Delta region. This is where that low really develops and gets cranking. Going for almost over 50 mile per hour wind gust. So some strong winds with these storms, and just the heavy rain is going to be strong winds. And, you look at, say, the updraft Felicity swath, and it really shows a lot of rotation in this line of storms, really close up to the low pressure, which will be cutting up through this area right here. That'll be where your best kinematic energy will be, wind energy, the turning with height, the directional shear. But it really likes this area for the biggest tornado threat, which is pretty much where the Storm Prediction Center is really highlighting the biggest tornado risk. So if you live in Memphis, you got some nasty helicity swaths that go right over your area. There is going to be rotating thunderstorms in this line of storms. And the energy's there, guys. We got the thermodynamic energy. These are dew points. They're surging into the 60s all the way up the Mississippi River, west and east of it. We got this cold air damming kind of set up, bringing some dry air, but this will get eroded away with this moist sector. So plenty of moist air with this, and then plenty of wind energy. Let's back it up a little bit. This is the low-level jet ramping over the area. So you see the purples, the reds, the oranges over here. This is that low-level jet really ramping up, and it is intense. Low showing up here. You see this area in purple. That's like a 65 to 80 knot low-level jet. So, winds are going at interstate speed about 4,000 to 6,000 feet above your head in these areas. So a lot of wind energy to go with these storms. Now, listen, the flooding threat is a huge deal with this. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up getting a high risk of flooding. But right now, they're going with a moderate risk, and this stretches from the Boot Hill, Missouri, northeast areas of Arkansas, even northern areas of Mississippi. It goes from basically Memphis through Nashville, Bowling Green, Paducah, through Lexington, Louisville, Cincinnati, all the way into sections of West Virginia and southern Ohio. So if you live in this red area, this is where you have at least a 40% chance of flash flood guidance being exceeded within 25 miles in any given location. And what this basically means is you have a 40% risk of flash flooding. And in the yellow area, you could get flash flooding too, but this is going to be the area where you could get just significant flooding. This could be a big storyline that develops very quickly and suddenly in this area. If you live in this region, take any flash flood warnings very serious. And I would really just hunker down for the day tomorrow and then heighten your situational awareness skills for sure, because things, especially if you live near a river, more flood prone areas, things could go downhill fast. And if you look at the day 1 to 2, this is basically through this entire event. How much rain is forecast? Memphis itself, 3 inches of rain. This kind of a lighter shade of orange, that's 4 inches. Lexington, Kentucky, 3. Louisville, 3. Nashville, 2.5, 3. The Boot Hill, Missouri, 4 inches of rain is possible. Up to Cincinnati, 2.5 inches of rain. And, the National Weather Service out of Charleston's calling for a historic rainfall event. And, I mean, they're only going for around 2 inches of rain between now and the next 48 hours. But listen, this area is saturated. I want to also add the fact that, you're going to get a lot of rain in the southern Alps, too, in North Carolina, Tennessee. And maybe not as much, but some of these higher elevated regions in like southwest North Carolina, which is notorious for flooding, could squeeze out extra moisture with that lift. So, of course, we continue to clean up from Helene in these areas. Just a washout is going to move in through this area. So you combine that with heavy winds, strong winds, and this is the Euro. How strong are the winds the Euro calling for? I mean, this is the latest European model run, and it has some 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts sweeping through these areas that could get flooding rains. So saturated soils, the root systems with these trees will be weakened. Trees will fall. Things could get bad quick. It's kind of one of those things where, this ain't that bad, and then all of a sudden it is. So the southeast, I mean, look at these winds as the low-level jet sweeps through into Sunday. 40, 50, maybe as much as 60 mile per hour winds out in the Outer Banks. Strong winds across the northeast. So a lot. This is just a powerful storm system. That's why I've spent 30 minutes talking about it. I think it needs to be talked about a lot. I mean, this is a big storm system. So, all right, deep breath. Let's try to get some energy going for next week's system. So a lot of people are wondering, are we going to get winter weather next week? So let's start off by looking at the winter weather outlook from the National Weather Service. So this is for Tuesday morning into Wednesday morning. And just after reading some discussions and talking with other people, I think the best way to look at this is the chances to see 2 to 3 inches of snow or sleet, or both. Okay? The technical way to say it is probability of exceeding a 1/4 inch liquid equivalent of snow and sleet. But really, when you kind of average it all out, narrow it down, 2 to 3 inches of snow, sleet. Okay, so there is in that dark green, there is a 30 to 50% chance of that here, right where Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Kansas come together. Wichita, you're including into this, portions of the Ozarks, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Tulsa, Springfield. We'll kind of zoom into this. Joplin, Stillwater. So yeah, and then, in that light green, that is a 10 to 30% chance of that. Kansas City, St. Louis, down to Little Rock, almost Memphis, but you are going to pretty much be included in this too. I'll talk about why here in a second. Oklahoma City. So yeah, Thursday, the threat switches east. All right, so if you live in that dark green, that is where you have, same thing, a 30 to 50% chance of 2 to 3 inches of snow or sleet. And in that light green, that is a 10 to 30% chance of that. Just to kind of zoom into these areas, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Blacksburg, Roanoke, Lynchburg, Richmond. And even Charlotte to Raleigh, 10 to 30% chance. This will continue to tweak some, guys. And there's going to be ice in this too. And this doesn't include ice. And this is interesting to me. For Friday, this is Thursday morning through Friday morning. The graphic I just showed you a little bit further south is Wednesday morning through Thursday morning. They've increased it for the I-95 corridor. Points east. So chances are increasing for a powerful winter storm later next week for areas of the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. So this is going to be a week long of tracking this. So I just want to start off by showing you that. Now let's focus on the central U.S. first, and then we'll go to the eastern U.S. So the latest Euro, and let's go on and switch this to the 06Z Euro. This is starting off. And then we're going to have to switch it back to the OOZ because this is only going to go 144 hours out. So we're starting it off Monday evening. We got snow going across the plains, across the high plains of Wyoming and Montana. Snow starting to drift into Missouri. Even a little bit of snow into Illinois. This will be a lot of cold air dropping down with this. Heavier snow begins to blossom here in Kansas. And then as we're getting into midday Tuesday, February the 18th, more of a wintry mix in southern Oklahoma, northern Texas, and that pink, that's freezing rain. Heavier snow along the Oklahoma and Kansas border. Some heavy snow back into Colorado, New Mexico. Heavier snow tries to move into Missouri. And then we take it all the way into next Tuesday evening. A winter storm develops across areas of Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and northwest Arkansas. And we got this icing corridor. Freezing rain that begins to move into west central areas of Arkansas also. Rain in the green, freezing rain pink. Any orange you see come up on your screen is sleet. And then we start to move now into about the middle of the night next Tuesday night and Wednesday. So we got some freezing rain along the Arklatex. We got snow in northern Arkansas, more of a freezing mix in Little Rock. Not a forecast. It's going to tweak some. This is all snow up here in Missouri. The darker blues is heavier snow. So we got snow falling back in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and then we take it into Wednesday morning. The system gets kind of weird after that. Gets kind of sheared out in certain areas, and are we going to have more energy to kind of develops back here? What's interesting is cold air drops down into Texas, and we try to get more moisture that gets into that cold air. So we're starting to get a wintry mix deep down in Texas Wednesday morning, the 19th, while a winter storm or a winter weather event is cranking up across northern Louisiana, Arkansas, starting to move into northern Mississippi. I mean, we got freezing rain as far south as Shreveport, almost all the way down to Jackson. And then we start to take it into about midday Wednesday. And this is when it just gets kind of weird. We're not quite sure what's going to happen. We got some snow flying around in Dallas. Light snow, wintry mix, even south. And are we going to have kind of another system behind it that gets going? Some snow tries to move into, say, northern Louisiana. Looks like some energy trying to fly back down to catch up. And then we stop it right here. Okay. What's interesting is the first system sort of misses Nashville, and then we have some backside moisture that gets going as this taps in with a trailing wave and then blossoms some snow over Nashville up into Kentucky. This continues to be something to watch, and I've been kind of hitting on this a lot about a trailing wave behind this. If that happens, then more cold air could be involved. Therefore, you're seeing the freezing rain down here. Pretty far south of Mississippi. If you kind of look at the run overnight, it kind of shows that too, but not as much. So, yeah, let's look at the GFS. Same thing, Monday evening, we get into Tuesday morning, there's that heavy snow across Kansas. This wants to bring snow, really heavy snow up into Kansas City. And then we get into Tuesday afternoon, heavy snow into Missouri, more of a wintry mix in northern Arkansas. And then we start to get into like the middle of the night, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Immediately you see a difference, right? The Euro wants to throw winter weather pretty far south into Texas as we're getting into like Wednesday morning. But this is a quick hitting winter storm across western Kentucky, western Tennessee, the bootleg of there's a boot hill, I'm forgetting, of Missouri, northeastern Arkansas, southern Illinois, southern Indiana. Okay? And then that moves in. And there is some energy that's unseen right here, but it doesn't get tapped into like with the Euro. See how the energy tries to move into the north, and then as we're getting into Wednesday night into Thursday, look how the snow begins to fill in Tennessee and Kentucky again, and eastern Tennessee. There's a lot that we still got to figure out with this system, I think. But you look at the eastern U.S. with this system, okay? And once again, we're going to have to skip this to the 06Z. And then what we're going to do here is look at the eastern U.S., and we're going to have to switch this to the 06Z Euro. So we got snow breaking out across Missouri, northern Arkansas. We've already talked about these areas. It's going to skip to Wednesday morning. Here's kind of that first wave, right? A lot of moisture with it initially. All of a sudden, a wintry mix breaks out across, as far south as northern South Carolina, the Piedmont and North Carolina. Comes this wintry mix. Who knows exactly what the precipitation will be, but this is around 1 p.m. Wednesday. We got snow up here in southern Ohio, West Virginia, and then we get a winter storm that develops next Wednesday afternoon. It's only 5 days away across the upstate of South Carolina, getting into North Carolina. And remember, there's energy behind this too. What is that going to do? And then here comes the freezing rain, northern South Carolina. The Euro's colder than the GFS, which I'll show you that here in a second. We got snow in northern North Carolina, some heavier snow beginning to move into southwest VA. And then this is beginning to turn into a nasty ice event. So if we take it all the way to the end of the run, you got ice almost as far south as Columbia, South Carolina. But this is an awful ice storm across North Carolina. That pink, that's freezing rain. And watch how the storm looks like it's about to lose some gas, and then it gets some gets some kind of a boost right here, if you will, with a trailing wave of energy. And then all of a sudden, heavy snow breaks out across the eastern half of Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, western VA. And I'm not sure what the system would do after this. It's interesting. This could be a much bigger winter storm for areas further south, like down to Atlanta, if we could just get the cold air here first. It's close. But man, that freezing rain is awfully close to, say, Columbia. And I mean, if you compare this to the OOZ, it's kind of the same thing, but we'll have to kind of keep this run going off the OOZ. But we keep it going. This turns into a 997 millibar low over the Outer Banks Thursday morning. It tries to bring even a little bit of a wintry mix as far south as Columbia, a little backside snow to Atlanta, but this is heavy snow across the mountains of Tennessee, North Carolina. Heavy snow that you're switching to across western North Carolina, corridor of ice near Raleigh. Look at this heavy snow across Virginia, West Virginia, eastern Kentucky, and then look at the mid-Atlantic, the Delmarva, getting rocked. And this turns into a 987 millibar low, and then it tries to turn into an all-out blizzard for the I-95 corridor. And I'm talking about New Jersey, Long Island, southern New England as we're getting into Thursday evening. And then this thing heads on out and could really hit Atlantic Canada pretty hard. This is going to be a big winter storm, I think, for somebody. And the latest GFS, here it comes, starting it off Wednesday morning. Kind of shears that first piece of energy off, but we still got moderate snow in that darker blue breaking out across areas of Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia. It's just, one, it's not as big of a system, okay? And two, it's not as cold. Normally the Euro's colder. I mean, normally the GFS wants to show more of a colder scenario, but it shows snow breaking out across Virginia, ice in northern North Carolina, but doesn't do a whole lot as we're getting into Wednesday afternoon, this corridor of snow into Delmarva. And then it does tap into that backside energy, but it's more so northern stream dominating, and that begins to kind of link into the energy kind of off the coast of the southeast, and 998 millibar low begins to develop. And we'll speak on the pieces of energy more when we can move past this weekend storm. We can spend more time on this one. But here comes some energy diving in to try to save the day from winter weather fans across like the southern Alps. So we got two things going on here. We got this moderate snow event across the southern Alps. I mean, even all the way down to North Carolina, Ohio Valley. And we got a banging winter storm across areas of the I-95 corridor, even some snow. And this just turns into a big event. It looks like the low pressure weakens a little bit, but this turns into a lot of snow. I mean, even throws some back-end snow all the way down to North Carolina, and just a big winter storm as we're getting to Thursday night and Friday morning across New England. Man, a lot to cover, right? So let's talk about the signal for snowfall. So I wonder if we got the O6Z through. We do. Awesome. So let's start off with the O6Z run. So here it comes Monday, and this is in 24-hour periods. Okay, this isn't the length of the run. You're going to see a footprint of snow appear on your screen, then you'll see it disappear off your screen. So here it comes dropping down into the plains, and it really spikes right where Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas come together. That's where you have one of your highest means, 3-4 inch snowfall average in this area. And then it kind of loses some steam as it gets into the Mid-South Ohio Valley. But this is as far as I can go. And we have to go back to the OOZ, and it doesn't really pick up much on this trailing wave. Okay? But, you know, we kind of move it to, let's back this up, and let's look at the GFS ensemble. What does it show? Sunday, we're getting into Monday, and we're getting into Tuesday afternoon. Looks like it's further north. It really hits Kansas into Missouri harder, and brings, it looks like a solid signal, solid footprint of snow, kind of those same areas where those states I mentioned connect, Springfield, Tulsa, the Ozarks, Fayetteville. That's over a 4-inch snowfall average for certain areas. And then this sweeps here. It doesn't pick up much on the backside trailing energy, and then it moves east. Okay? And then we got a bit of an ice signal, and we'll just look at the blend of all models, but we could get some freezing rain in some of these areas too. And then we look, same thing, we'll switch this back to the, let's look at the O6Z. We look at the O6Z, here it comes. Wednesday morning. We're starting to get into Wednesday evening. There's a couple things going on here. All right. We got about 1 inch to 2 inch snowfall footprint across the Mid-South. I mean, as far north as Indiana and Ohio and Illinois. And then look how it begins to increase. I mean, already just through Wednesday evening, we got over an inch snowfall mean in Charlotte, Greensboro, and then it really blossoms, and this is as far out as we can go. But we start to see a little bit of a mean pop for as far south as Columbia and Atlanta. But this only goes out there about late Wednesday night. Now, the storm is still ongoing. Okay, so we'll have to switch it back to the OOZ, which you'll notice is further north. So this is the O6Z. It ticks south, which means colder air. So we'll go back to the OOZ because it's the only thing we got. And look at that. And this is in 48-hour periods, I want to add. Look at this incredible snowfall footprint across the mid-Atlantic through southern New England. And I mean, even northern North Carolina, even back here in Tennessee and Kentucky is pretty impressive, in West Virginia. But the Euro Ensemble overnight gave you guys over a half a foot snowfall mean for this system through northern Virginia, areas of West Virginia, through the D.C. Baltimore area, all the way through the entire state of New Jersey, Long Island, southern New England. That is a solid signal. And this is the blend of all models for ice for the southeast. This could certainly increase. But I don't think we're going to avoid ice with this system. So, 46 minutes deep, guys. I don't even know what time it is. Hopefully I'm not late to work. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a video tonight. It's Valentine's Day. Me and my wife are going to have that. We're doing a little date night like I'm sure a lot of people are. So if I do one, it might be later. It might be super early. I mean, there's a lot going on, so we're going to continue to pump out this content. Follow me on social media, guys. That's a great way to get quick updates. I'll be making updates with this system. It's an interesting setup next week, and I just do not. What's fascinating me is the fact that I really just don't think that we got this one pinned down at all. I think that the backside energy kind of following behind, it has me very interested for areas a little bit further south. You know, the key thing here east of the Appalachian Mountains is you really got to get the cold air here first. That is huge east of the Appalachian Mountains. You can work better with it with the cold air riding down with the moisture west of the Appalachian Mountains. I'm talking about Tennessee. I'm talking about like Mississippi, Arkansas, all those areas. East of the Apps, you really need the cold air settled in, whether it's from a Arctic front, cold air damming, whatever it may be. We'll see what we can do. But this is definitely a solid signal for a winter storm next week. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful Friday, and I'll talk to you again soon.